Hi, I'm Manny Hosworth. I'm U.S. Technical Manager for LeoVince Exhaust Systems. Today we're going to talk you through installing a Dion device onto your motorcycle. The Dion device fits here on the clip-ons, covers your brake lever, and protects you from impact in case of an incident on the track or on the road, keep you safe. So what we're going to do first, as you can see, we've got some components already installed. We have a brake master cylinder, switch housing, throttle housing. We have a switch here for data logging. So there's some things taking up real estate on the clip-on. And we need to make some room for the device to fit. It has to perch on here. So what we do is we're going to loosen these components, loosen the master cylinder, the housing, everything. We're going to loosen the pinch bolts for the clip-on and slide the clip-on down to allow more space here. And then we'll be able to fit the device with no problems. So we'll start removing these pinch bolts here on the clip-on. Loosening the pinch bolts in the brake master cylinder. These pinch screws here on the switch housing. And also here on my switch. So all that loosening gives us some free play. Slide the clip-on down, right about there. So we go ahead and move the brake master cylinder up, our switch housing up. I'm going to go ahead and put the guard right here in between the switch housing and the data logging switch I have on here. And that'll give me a pretty correct positioning where it's not interfering with the brake lever. It'll have the right amount of coverage here to block the end of the brake lever so that it's not susceptible to any impact like that. It's recommended to use maybe some blue Loctite on all those bolts in there to make sure everything's safe and secure. Now that we have the guard in place, we can go ahead and start kind of fine-tuning where we want everything and then tightening everything down. Now that you've got it all installed, there's a few things you want to make sure of before kind of heading out onto the track. And one of the things is you want to make sure you've got a good inch or around 26 millimeters clearance between the end of the lever and the device. So you want to have a little bit of clearance in here. That way your hand is not getting pinched. You have free access to the brake lever and everything. Also, if you're using, you can see we're using a Brembo master cylinder and lever here. If you're using a stock lever, you don't want to be any more than 1 inch from the end of the grip to the Dion device. So you want to keep that a little bit tighter so you can make sure you cover everything. The two set screws here on the deflector are used to adjust it laterally so that you can adjust the amount that you're covering the ball at the end of the brake lever. You would loosen these two screws here. You can see now we have movement to go side to side. Set it up where we want it. And then snug it down. See, we also have this set screw that gives you adjustment for how far out the Dion device is adjusted this way. And you can turn that screw to adjust the amount of clearance you have. Get it set right where you want it. Tighten the nut down again. As far as torque specs, you really shouldn't have to go really hard on this stuff. If you're going too hard, you're going to end up stripping the bolts out, So we don't recommend using a really heavy torque setting or a heavy torque wrench. Basically around hand tight, nice and snug, with a little bit of Loctite, you should be perfectly fine. So the Dion device is not necessarily model specific. It's actually fairly universal. One thing you want to keep in mind when fitting it is what type of master cylinder and lever you're using. Like for example, we have a Brembo master cylinder on this bike, and what type of throttle housing, switch housing you're using. Most of the time it's going to be stock, and in which case it's very easy to adapt and fit to your motorcycle. The only thing you might want to look out for is certain aftermarket brake levers may be a little bit too long or a little bit too short, which might require some moving of the device. Also, if you're using a Brembo master cylinder and lever and a stock Suzuki housing, which uses a much wider housing, you may have to move it over as well and possibly switch to a shorter lever. You can also see once it's installed properly, we've got all our clearance there. Protects your hand while it's over the brake lever. In the event of a crash, it has a breakaway function that moves away and allows your hand to remain free and not trapped in between the lever and the guard. As kind of a secondary feature is in the event of a low side, small crash, it has the additional comfort of protecting the clip-ons and creating a little bit of a barrier in the side of the bike to protect the tank and other things that could be much more expensive to fix and replace. Another feature of the breakaway function is that should you be going into a turn, you have a rider coming up the inside, if they should make any contact with the guard, it won't steer the bike while you're setting up for the turn. You get the breakaway feature that will allow it to let go. So that's the install of the Dion device. I'm Manny Hosworth, and check the website if you have any other questions, and feel free to ask.
When the feeling's gone, he feels the same. She walks away.